It's
Yeah, no, I
the
hear you. I'm going to the bar
question
after the show.
of the week.
The question of the week: are your phones / smart devices listening to you?
You know, I feel like that falls into the whole Facebook thing of I saw a post yesterday from a friend of mine. Love her dearly, but I'm like, oh my God, it's not how the world works. But it's like, oh, it's official. Do not use my photos. I do not on this day. I was like, that's not how that works. Just because you put something, I just feel like it's that. I feel like this whole the phone's listening to us thing. There's so many ways to collect data. I'll just say I don't officially know, but it is such a conspiracy theory there. What do you guys think?
I think it absolutely is. And I think we should.
I'm not saying it's not. I just think it's like, oh my God.
I think we should test that whole theory right now.
Okay, how do we test it?
How do we test it? I think that one of the ways that we can test it is we can go, there is nothing I want to look for this weekend more than Jimmy Dean sausage. I wonder where I can find Jimmy Dean sausage. And is it available in my area? Is it available in your area? I don't know. I wonder what supermarkets have Jimmy Dean sausage.
Wise and Nerdy, brought to you by the competitor of Jimmy Dean sausage. But so you said all that, right? And that's the thing. People say, "Oh, I mentioned I might look up shoes, and there's shoes on." So how do we test this theory? You talked about Jimmy Dean sausage.
Yep, and I think we test it by seeing if it pops up on our Facebook ads between now and next week.
Okay. Because I'll be honest,
but I think you guys need to say the words out loud.
What?
I've never seen Dean of Jimmy sausage show up on my advertisements anywhere.
That's part of the reason why I chose it.
Okay. What about you, Joe?
Oh, all I know is I have been having conversations, and I guarantee like everyone's got a story like this, but I have been having conversations and never seen an ad for something before until after that conversation. Like, for instance, when you and I went up to Chicago to see Barry and to do Go Fest, we stopped and we got a specific brand of moonshine.
What brand was that, Joseph?
I texted you what the brand was the other day.
Oh, I know. I just wanted to see if you'd say it and have it pop up on your feed.
Old Smoky, yeah. So we bought that specific brand, and all of a sudden, for the next 3 weeks, Facebook was giving me ads for that specific brand. And then it was just a couple weeks ago where I texted you because you had asked me what the brand was, and I said I saw this billboard for it. This is what it was. The next day, I started getting those ads again for that specific brand
on Facebook, on TikTok.
On Facebook, I don't do TikTok unless you send me a TikTok link. And so again, and then there's another instance where I was giving my coworker a ride to work for about a week because his car was in the shop, and we were talking about how we wished that there was something similar to Netflix, but for audiobooks, where you pay your monthly fee and then you can just listen to whatever they have in their library, right? Instead of like Audible, where you buy the book and then you have it in your library. But
they have an unlimited version.
Well, they've got, as my understanding, I've never actually done Audible, is that they've got a certain books that are part of their unlimited section, and then you can buy extra.
Yeah, basically it's kind of like a library. You get one book a month, and then there's an off chart, not famous reading list that you get access to all the time.
Yeah, the random B tier stuff. But we were talking about that, and again, the next day, Facebook is giving me ads for this random service I had never heard about, and it was only for that day that they showed it to me. But it was some random service.
I'm pretty sure I sent you an audiobook kind of link in that time frame.
You don't even know what time frame I'm talking about. This was before I even met you.
No, you've always known me. I've always known you.
Okay.
Look, my ads right now are adaychick.com, sizes small to 5XL, and cookunity.com. It has nothing to do with anything I've said.
But I swear they are listening to us. And I mean,
so
to a certain extent they have to be, because if you say, the name of the bots, I'm not going to do that to people who are listening. But
hey
if
Alexa,
you say
play Baby Shark on Infinite Loop, do not cancel.
Then they will respond. And I've heard of, and I have to double check to see if this is factual or if I'm just spreading rumors that are rumors. Yeah. But I've heard that different agencies have tried to subpoena the voice recordings from Alexa devices, from like Echo Dots and stuff like that. And so to me, that definitely sounds like they're listening to more than they ought to and keeping track of it, at least to a certain extent.
A lot of vagary there, sir. I don't know. So let's take it a step back. So, do you have rewards cards for your favorite grocery stores?
No.
Yes.
Joe?
No.
Why don't you have a rewards card for your favorite?
I don't want to be a walking advertisement for that. For them.
How's that a walking advertisement? You're feeding them info. You're not advertising.
Yeah, exactly. Info. You're feeding them info.
And you know what they do with that info? They send you coupons for this stuff you already buy.
Sometimes, or it's just random stuff that I don't want to buy. I don't want to be on a mailing list.
Oh, God.
I don't want to be on their mailing list.
You're on Dragon Con's mailing list.
I know I am.
I'm going to sign you up for like
no
Catholic priest. I don't know, something of the week.
You better be careful. I'll send the Jehovah's Witnesses to your house.
Yeah, I know how to handle them. I show up naked at my door and just been like,
it happens.
Then they'll be like, he really needs to be saved.
What about so yes, we feed data. We feed data all the time. I don't really believe our phones need to listen to us or spy on us. I'm not saying they do or they don't. They may.
Well,
they may
even like location data
all the time.
Like even location data will give you a ton of information as well. Like again, when we stopped at that liquor store to get the moonshine for Barry, it could have been like, oh, that's where you were, because you give so many apps and location data access that you don't realize.
And that makes sense, Joe, because we were using Google Maps, which we know is not a search engine. It is a data collection agency. And perhaps that's why the ads popped up, because Google got the data that said we went to that store, and then they sold it to Facebook or whatever.
Yeah. But I still think they're listening to us.
Here's the question. Well, I need more wise and nerdy in my life. Advertise that to me. All right.
They're already listening.
Even AI knows that that's dumb.
Shut up. I'm going to kick you off the show, Kurt.
Okay.
But here's the question. Does it matter?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I don't want... Who knows what they're going to do with all the shadiness? I don't trust people. Your data is very valuable. And who says that they are the only ones keeping it?
To who?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish.
You literally were just saying that the different grocery stores are cataloging your preferences to specifically target your ads.
Yeah.
What do you think Facebook is doing?
That's who's offering to pay you for that? Nobody.
No, not me.
It is not valuable to you because they're not going to pay you. Nobody's going to pay you for it. But you know what I do get out of it? Every once in a while I get an ad and go, hey, that Deadpool shirt that says, don't ask me why I'm stupid. I won't ask you why you're a butt face is basically what it says on it. That's because they tracked and they know I like Deadpool. And I bought that shirt because it was marketed to me. And I liked it. But Joe, you don't have to click the ads. You don't have to buy the stuff. You can't say, no, thank you. This is not the Joe you're looking for.
So
we're turning into what is it, the Minority Report, where he walked up and every time they scanned the face, it gave him targeted ads, and then he changed his identity and he got targeted ads for
Mr. Miyamoto or whatever.
Yeah,
but here's
that's
the thing.
what we're turning into.
We've always been there. It's just easier for companies to get to it. It is not. I argue, I'm going to turn over your curb. I argue it's not valuable to you because nobody's going to pay you for it. However, it is valuable to them. They'll pay other people for it, and then they will target stuff to you that may or may not matter to you. And in my opinion, I'm going to feed as much data as I can into it because I want to know about the stuff that matters to me. Like I learned about Humane, the AI phone clip, the day it launched because of all of my interests in AI and phones and searches and those kind of things. And I loved it that I learned about it the day of launch. Didn't buy it, but I did love it. I'm saying feed the beast because it will then feed me. But Kurt, what is your thoughts?
Yeah, so I've got two thoughts. One, I would rather have ads that I might be remotely interested in than ads that are just merely annoying. Like I still don't watch commercials on TV, and I don't care how funny they are. People will make pop culture references to commercials that have happened recently, and I don't know what they're talking about. And I'm good with that. I would also challenge, Joe, the value that you put on your data. And the reason I challenge that is because you've got social media accounts. You've got you use Google on occasion. Have you looked to read the end user license agreements for any of these things to know how they're using your data?
No, you're definitely right. I am not like religiously protecting my data. You are spot on that.
So I'm not. I didn't mean to say that to call you out or to shame you in any way or whatever. But what we fall into often is that trap of big business is doing bad, and they're doing bad by stealing our data. And the part that we don't say afterwards is, and that's because we let them. And in fact, they didn't steal it. They took it because we willingly gave it up.
But I think that they are. I wouldn't be surprised if, in fact, regardless of how much Facebook says they're not listening to our microphones, if they 100% are, and it becomes a big scandal down the line.
That's different. That's
exactly,
and that's different. But
my pearls.
My guess is that if we do the digging, we will find that yes, in fact, they are listening, and yes, in fact, they told us, and yes, in fact, we didn't pay attention to the updated license agreements.
Something like that, probably.
I'm not saying that you're wrong, and they probably are doing something shady. But I don't know that it's as surface level as all that.
And I know that's not why you asked the question. I think you asked the question because you wanted a conversation like this because you're devious that way, Joe, and I appreciate that about you. But it kind of goes back to the story I tell about my mom, and very religious, anti-gay. And there's at this time, I know you don't know this, Kirk, you don't watch these commercials. By the time there was a Lexus commercial, Christmas was coming, and there was this car in between two houses with the red bow on it. And when one guy comes out of one house, one guy comes out of the other house, they both think it's for them. And it's like, Lexus is like, who's it for? And it's this cutesy thing. And my mom was like, thinking it's cutesy. And the wild hair got into me, and the devil came into me, and I couldn't help it a little bit. And I just went, they got it for each other, Mom. They're gay. They just have to own their own homes. As she went off, she went nuts. She's like, I will never buy a Lexus. Now, I just made that up on the fly, right? And I will never buy a Lexus. Okay, let me tell you something. My mom barely drives an old Jeep Wrangler, your Jeep Grand Cherokee, rather. So you weren't going to buy a Lexus to start with. But secondly, she said, I won't give my money to anybody who gives money to the gays. I'm like, do you not think gay people work in the factory that built that couch? That you don't think gay people work in the place that manufactures the light bulbs? You don't know where your money's going. So how about you just worry about what you can do? Now, I'm not saying go ahead on gays because I was absolutely wrong with her. And that's why I was pushing those buttons on her. But to the data stuff, do we know? No. Can we think about it? Yes. Is it a scandal later? Does it matter? because at the end of the day, all we can do is what we can do with what we know and what we can do. Makes my oh my god, random kid, make MySpace great again. Now, John, I do want to ask. We're pushing, we're punching, we're having fun here, but are you worried about it?
Not right now, but I definitely could be, as if I could see it getting weaponized is what I'm, and maybe that's just me being a dumb conspiracy theorist, but it recently came out, and I don't mean to go super political, but that certain keywords in people's purchases were being targeted and people were getting put on lists. And so I do somewhat worry. I'm careful. I'm a lot more careful about what I post to Facebook than what I'm saying with my phone near me. You know what I mean? And
I do know what you mean. And by all means, you do you, man. That's do what makes you feel comfortable. Everybody listening, do what makes you feel comfortable. I don't hide. I put everything out on the internet. I do all my stuff. But you're talking about lists. You heard of the book Catcher in the Rye? There was a time in the United States, if you bought that from anywhere, you were on a list. And they tracked how many of those you bought because there was a belief, I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know what the studies say or don't say. But there was a belief that people who were basically psychotic or going to be serial killers stacked up these books or mass murders or something like that. And there's even a Mel Gibson movie from the 90s that I can't remember what it's called, but I mean, it starts off with him burning his room because he's a conspiracy nut, but actually they were after him. He's like ex-CIA, whatever.
I think it's just called conspiracy theory.
Was it conspiracy theory?
I think it was.
And he did. He had like what 15 Catcher in the Rye books, right? But it was. But that's true. I mean, there's all kind of things in this country that we can say or do that we'll get on lists that we never know that we're on that list. You know, and by all means, be safe. I personally choose not to worry about it because someday the United States Gestapo comes knocking at my door. I'll just deal with it. However I have to deal with it at the time.
The thing that worries me more than the current situation, honestly, is and again, and because life is good, and so we get complacent.
Yeah,
it just is, and I know everybody like hems and haws, and it's a topic for a different time, but about how bad things are right now, they're really not. They're just not. Now, that all is being said, I think what I get worried about more is what if I want to extricate myself from
the data collection.
Yeah.
But I think Random Kid said something about that. Yeah. Sometimes I wish I lived in the EU since companies are legally required to delete your data upon request.
Read, but those words mean things. Legally required.
Yeah.
So how do you know they actually did it? Like, what did we see about Facebook in the original Trump run elections about, Facebook wasn't selling data, but then it turns out they were, and then they got, legally required doesn't mean they do it, but it is a step. But I think that plays into your thing, Kurt, about safety is an illusion. Okay, yeah, the law requires you're going to do it. Yeah, it does. And you know what happens if they don't? They have to get caught. Yeah. And then what's the punishment? Sometimes it's a fine, sometimes it's a slap on the wrist, sometimes a company goes down.
Well, and a lot of companies will just be the motto, the cost of doing business. And, the fines is just the cost of doing business.
Right.
It more often than not, it's just a slap on the wrist. Although I think was it Apple that was recently hit with like a $2 billion fine. So that's a bit more than a slap on the wrist.
Sure. I don't know the exact case, so I can't speak to specifics. But usually they're structured over like 10 or 15 or 20 years. Now, still, it's a big chunk of money. It is. But it's not like you got to write a check today and it really hurts them. It's like $2 billion fine payable over 15 years. It's like, okay. But they're going to earn over that 15 years, they're going to earn like $40-50 billion, if not more. So, like you said, it's the cost of doing business. Civilian is telling you, Kurt, that things are worse than you think, and that's always true, right? Watch Black Mirror. Black Mirror is not a documentary, but it is a Aesop's fable of our era of teaching us things that we should watch for.
Yep, right? and I still would argue things are better than we think.
Well, when you sit here and do a podcast and talk about things, is it that bad?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, Kurt lived through the Depression. He could tell us how bad it got.
No, but look, I wasn't even alive. But if you go back to the 50s, tell me how good things were.
Some people thought they were really good. There are people of color who probably thought they were really bad.
If we had the media transparency that we have today back then, you would know that things were a lot worse back then.
Yeah.
I mean, look, let's take racism out of it. Let's just take racism out of it. All right. Wives were second-class citizens back then. Abortion, good luck.
Yeah.
People are dying from that.
Same sex, anything ain't gonna happen.
Same sex, anything, forget it. And not only forget it, but criminal for being that way.
Yeah.
In a lot of places.
But by God, if you're a white male, you could drink and smoke in the office during the mornings.
Yeah, you could. And our health was so much better then.
Yeah. Now I want to touch on this and we move on with the show, Joe. Yeah. But the Apple fine, the antitrust fine. So thank you for pulling out the Apple fine's antitrust from the EU, and it was about $2 billion. It was 1.4 billion euros, $2 billion. So here's the follow up. Just food for thought. Where does that fine get paid to? Not the people, to the government. What's the government going to do with it? We don't know, but they sure got Apple.
They'll do something dumb with it.
Yeah, look at the U.S. government right now. It's so dumb, but I don't want to get into all that. But that's the thing. It's like, yeah, we got them. Who got them? The government got $2 billion from Apple, and then what? What did they do? Apple didn't skip a beat, and then the government did something. But